The moon hung low and heavy over the dense forest, casting silvery light over the jagged rocks and whispering trees. Shadows moved like restless spirits, hinting at the presence of something ancient and powerful. And tonight, it wasn't just any night. It was the night of the full moon, when the pack gathered, and the air itself seemed to hum with unspoken energy. Leela moved cautiously through the forest path, her boots crunching softly over fallen leaves. Her heart pounded, not from fear of the woods, but from the confrontation she had just endured. Moments ago, she had confessed her feelings to the Alpha King, and his rejection had cut sharper than any claw. His voice, deep and commanding, had resonated in her chest. "Leela, you're brave, but not the mate I choose." For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. The wolves in the clearing paused mid-step, their ears twitching, sensing the ripple of tension emanating from their leader. Leela swallowed hard, holding back tears that threatened to betray her composure. She turned on her heel and walked away, each step heavy with a mixture of heartbreak and defiance. But the forest never lets anything remain unnoticed. From the shadows, the Alpha King's gaze followed her. Kale, his name was Kale, and he carried the kind of presence that made the ground tremble. The trees bend subtly in respect, and the air itself quiver. And now she was walking away from him, from everything he embodied, and from the destiny he thought she could never be a part of. A low growl rumbled from deep within the Alpha King. It started almost imperceptibly, a vibration that resonated through the earth and into the bones of anyone who dared to feel it. Then it escalated ferocious, terrifying, almost primal. Kale's eyes blazed with a fury that matched the full moon's brilliance. He had never been denied like this, and something inside him snapped. The pack stirred. Wolves, humans bound by blood and loyalty, looked at him with a mix of awe and fear. The Alpha's rage was not just anger. It was a storm, a force that could flatten mountains, tear through the forest, and rend the night itself. Meanwhile, Leela had almost reached the edge of the forest, the distant lights of her village flickering faintly. She dared a glance over her shoulder and froze. The shadows seemed to warp, the trees bending unnaturally, and a sudden wind swept through the leaves like the whisper of a predator. Kale's roar echoed across the forest, a sound that was half human, half wolf, and fully terrifying. Seconds later, the ground beneath her quaked. Wolves emerged from every direction, their eyes glowing in the moonlight, moving with precision and intent. But they weren't coming for her, not yet. They were responding to Kale's summons, to his rage, to the call that no one in the pack could ignore. Somewhere deep in her chest, a spark of fear mingled with curiosity. She had rejected him, she had walked away. And now, she wondered if she had just unleashed something unstoppable. Her heart pounded faster than her footsteps. The wind carried a scent that was hers unmistakably, and she knew he could feel it. Kale, the Alpha King, had declared a hunt, not just across the forest, but across all the packs that dared to stand in his path. And it was only a matter of time before he found her. In the distance, a silver blur leapt between the trees. Leela's breath caught. The hunt had begun, and so had the story that would change both of their lives forever. The forest seemed alive with anticipation, each rustling leaf and snapping branch amplifying the tension. Leela's breaths came in shallow gasps as she sprinted through the underbrush, her hair whipping around her face like a wild banner. She had always known the forest was unforgiving, but tonight it felt like the trees themselves were conspiring, guiding her, testing her resolve. Behind her, the roar of the Alpha King echoed, bouncing off every rock and tree. Kale's presence was not just physical, it was a force that bent reality. Even the wolves that followed him moved as extensions of his will. Shadows in motion, silent yet terrifying. Leela stumbled, catching herself on a gnarled tree trunk. Her heart hammered not only from fear but from the magnetic pull she felt toward the very man who had rejected her. How could a being so terrifying also stir something so dangerously intimate? Kale ran like a force of nature. Moonlight glinted off his obsidian eyes, his every movement perfect and predatory. He wasn't hunting for sport, he was hunting for her, driven by a mixture of fury, pride, and something he refused to name even to himself. His senses were heightened beyond human comprehension. Every scent, every sound, every whisper of her presence drew him closer. Suddenly, Leela dove into a small clearing, her chest heaving. Her mind raced for a plan. Escape was futile. Anywhere she ran, he would find her. But the forest offered options. She spotted an abandoned cabin half hidden by overgrown vines and shadow. Without thinking, she sprinted toward it, praying that its walls would shield her from his gaze, if only for a moment. Cale slowed as he reached the clearing, his instincts screaming that she had taken refuge. His wolf form shimmered around him, the transformation beginning subtly, muscles bulging, senses sharpening, claws scraping the earth. The air around him vibrated with raw power. Inside the cabin, Leela's hands shook as she barricaded the door with old furniture. She pressed her back to the wall, listening to the forest outside. She could hear the soft padding of paws, the snapping of twigs, the unmistakable weight of his presence closing in. Her pulse raced not from fear alone, but from the awareness that he was near, closer than she had ever imagined. "Leela!" Cale's voice rolled through the trees, low and commanding, a growl woven into every syllable. "Why do you run from what you are meant to face?" Leela swallowed hard. She wanted to answer, to yell, to run again, but her legs refused. Something about his voice, dangerous and magnetic, held her in place. She felt the pull of him, the undeniable connection that had always existed between them, even before words had been spoken. The cabin door rattled. Cale's claws scraped the wood. "Do you think rejection ends what is inevitable?" His eyes glowed like molten silver through the cracks in the walls. Leela's breath caught. You can't just," she began, but her voice faltered, drowned in the intensity of his gaze even without seeing him fully. A moment of silence followed, thick and electric, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Then, with a force that shook the cabin, Cale's wolf form surged forward. The door splintered under his strength, but instead of attacking, he froze inches from her. His chest heaved, eyes locked onto hers. Rage still burned in him, yes, but beneath it, a raw, unspoken desire simmered. "You are mine," he whispered, almost in awe, almost in confession. "Even when you run, even when you defy me," Leela's knees threatened to buckle. She had walked away, but standing here, face to face with the Alpha King, the one she had rejected and yet never truly left her thoughts, she realized that some forces, some connections, could not be denied. Outside, the forest waited. Inside, two hearts, one wild and fierce, one determined and stubborn, stood on the brink of a storm that would change everything. And in that charged silence, the hunt was no longer about vengeance. It was about desire, about destiny, about the first spark of a love as dangerous and intoxicating as the full moon itself. The moon hung high now, bathing the forest in cold, silver light. The wind carried a chorus of whispers, the rustle of leaves like 1,000 voices warning her, pleading with her to run. But Leela no longer moved. She stood frozen, heart hammering, as Cale's presence filled every corner of the cabin. He stepped closer, each movement predatory yet deliberate. The wolf within him stirred, powerful and untamed, yet restrained by the human side that longed to claim her. His eyes, dark as midnight yet glowing with molten intensity, never left her face. "You think rejection will keep you safe," Cale said, his voice low and dangerous. "But running only brings you closer to what you cannot escape." Leela's hands trembled. She had spent her life trying to navigate the treacherous world of the pack, and now she was face with the most dangerous alpha she had ever known. The man who had rejected her, who had the power to command wolves with a glance, was now inches away, and the air between them crackled with unspoken tension. "You don't understand," she whispered, trying to summon the courage to meet his gaze. "I can't be what you want. I'm not ready." Cale's jaw tightened. His wolf form shimmered, muscles coiling like a spring ready to snap. But instead of attacking, he reached out, his fingers brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle, electrifying, and utterly disarming. Ready or not, He growled, "You belong to me." Leela's breath caught. His words were more than a claim. They were a promise, a warning, and a confession all at once. She wanted to retreat, to flee from the intensity that threatened to consume her, but her feet felt rooted to the ground. The pull between them was magnetic, irresistible, a force she could not resist. Suddenly, the cabin shuddered. A distant howl echoed through the forest, a reminder that the hunt was not over. Kale's pack stirred outside, senses sharp, ready to follow their alpha's command. But for this moment, it was only the two of them, and the air was thick with tension, heat, and the scent of imminent danger. Kale's eyes softened ever so slightly, and Leela saw a flicker of something she hadn't expected: vulnerability. The Alpha King, feared across all packs, was vulnerable in front of her. Vulnerable because she had walked away and yet had never truly left him. "You've always been reckless," he murmured, his lips brushing against her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "But tonight, I will not let you go." A storm raged outside, the wind whipping through the broken cabin walls, carrying with it the howl of wolves and the scent of the forest. Leela's heart raced, not from fear alone, but from the raw, undeniable attraction that surged between them. Every instinct screamed to resist, yet every fiber of her being yearned to surrender.